Welcome to Corefusion Yoga for Length down on the Pier. Thank you for joining us. Let's start in your resting position. Bring the right hand to the belly and your left hand to your heart. And just do a little mental scan of your body, starting working up through the legs and through the hips, through the spine, and out through the crown of the head. And just bring balance to the right side of the body and the left side of the body. Bring the hips parallel to the shoulders and both parallel to the floor. And then just follow the movement of your breath as you inhale in through the nose and exhale through the nose, keeping the muscles of the face soft, the jaw relaxed, and the throat open. On our next breath, let's inhale just into the belly cavity, feeling the rise of the right hand and the fall of the right hand. Inhaling deeply and exhaling completely, allowing each breath to lengthen and deepen with every inhalation and exhalation. On that next breath, inhale deep into the belly. Continue up through the diaphragm, wide into the rib cage. Exhaling from the ribs, belly, and the nose. Inhale into the belly, the right hand rises, the left hand rises. And exhale. On that next breath, let's draw one leg, then the other up towards the belly. And just do a gentle rock side to side. You point the toes, wiggle the ankles, and then find the hands on the tips of the knees and start to make circles with the legs in a clockwise direction. Drawing those thighs into the belly as you exhale and away from the belly as you inhale. Keeping that breath slow and steady. And then when you're ready, go in the other direction. Find focus on that lower spine as the tail curls off the mat and then gently back down to the mat. Feeling that little gentle massage in through the spine, through the hips, through the sacrum, and into the belly. Let's curl the head up to meet the knees, thighs to the belly, and squeeze navel to spine. Now lengthen that left leg out. And then curl back up into a little ball. Reach the hands overhead and lengthen the other leg out. Let it hover just above the ground and draw back in. Inhale to lengthen, drawing navel to spine, spine to floor, and exhale to curl. And inhale, lengthen, and exhale. On the next breath, go ahead and take both legs out if you choose. Draw both legs in. But listen to your back. Feel free to continue one leg at a time. Or encourage the core to work a little bit harder. And then slowly lower those feet back to the mat. Bring palms to the mat, heels directly below the knees and in line with the sit bones. Draw the hips up, lengthening out through the spine, then out through the tips of the knees as they point towards the toes. And then lift hands overhead as you lower the spine. Exhale, lift the spine up one vertebrae at a time. Push into your mat. Inhale, hands overhead. Lower the spine down to your mat. Exhale, lift up. And inhale, lower down. Exhale, lengthening the tail down towards the knees, sit bones into the back of the hamstrings, and inhale, lower on down. Let's curl on up into that little ball. Lower feet to ground. Hands to hips, lift the hips up into that bridge pose. Slowly lower back down. Hands to ankles, curl into that little ball. Feet to the floor, hands overhead. Hands back to your mat. Lift the hips up into that bridge. And one more time. Curl on up. Lower on down. Let's lift those hips up towards the sky. Press the hands in. And then go ahead and turn your palms up. Squeeze your shoulder blades together or link your hands together and reach towards the ankle or tuck them under the hip bones. You want to open up through the front body, open through the chest, curling the shoulder blades together. And breathe. Keep the chin tucked towards the chest slightly. Weight in the shoulders. Lengthen through the neck. Feel that nice openness of the heart, openness of the front body. Squeezing those glutes gently as you reach them towards the hamstrings and lift the hips. Let's slowly open up the back, lower the hips. Draw the knees towards the chest and curl back into the little ball. And just rock side to side to release that spine. Take our hands behind that left leg, lengthening that right leg out along our mat or keeping it bent. Or you can use a strap or walk your hands a little higher. Point our toe up and then flex the toe down. We're going to point and flex. And then feeling the stretch of the calf as you draw your toe towards your shin bone and press your heel towards the sky. And just take a little look at the ankle, make sure it's even on both sides, spreading the toes wide. And then lengthen that left sit bone away from you. Create balance between the side bodies, between right side body and left side body. Tipping the tail down slightly, feel a nice long stretch from the tip of the tail right up to the tip of the heel. We're going to take those fingers around the toe to the outside of your leg. Make a little cradle if you want as you extend that left leg out to the side for a nice inner thigh and groin stretch. Right hand can come onto that hip bone to make sure it doesn't move as we extend that left leg out. And breathe. Use the core to keep the hips stable. Continue to press the heel away, the hip thigh or the thigh away from the hip socket. And just watch the knee that it doesn't lock out. Keep a slight bend in it. Perhaps bring that knee back in. And then just grabbing that leg with the other hand, keeping the hip to the ground to start. Draw to the opposite shoulder. A little stretch through that left bum cheek. And then when you're ready, go a little bit further. Taking left hip on top of right as you come into a little recline twist. Shoulder blades are square and flat to the ground. Perhaps you might want to lengthen your leg for a little deeper stretch or just keep it bent. And focus on that lower and mid spine. Continue to draw the navel in, lengthening through the back, watching that it doesn't overarch. And breathe. One more really deep breath. And then as you exhale, slowly bring that body back to your mat. We're just going to take that left heel on top of the right thigh, bending the right leg up. You can leave that leg on the ground, or you can reach the hands around the back of the hamstring or around the back of the shin. As you come into your figure 4 stretch, encourage the left knee to open. Keep the left ankle strong and flexed to support that knee joint. And draw that right knee towards the right shoulder. We're going to inhale, lengthen and lift the toe. And exhale, draw the heel as you flex the foot back down to your hip. Inhale to lengthen. With a nice stretch to the front of the shin. And exhale to flex. Draw the heel to hip. And again, beware of your side bodies. Keep evenness through both sides. Make sure the shoulders can stay on the ground so that the chin stays tucked in slightly and the neck long. And then encourage the stretch of that left hip as you encourage the left knee to open as the right foot rises and falls. Let's take that leg back to the ground. We're going to take it just a little bit wider than our mat. Flex that foot and then internally rotate that right leg. You can take the left leg off or encourage that leg with it on top. Just to rotate inward, lengthening the knee away from the hip. Draw the belly in and press the hips forward just slightly. A nice long stretch of the inner knee up through the thigh, in through that low belly. And reach to either side of your mat, blades pressing into your mat. If this bothers your knee, remember unstack or uncross your legs and just stack them in. Let's just bring those legs back together. The soles of the feet come together and open the knees. As cactus the arms, put them out to the side. Sacrum is flat, natural curve of the low back. Low ribs pressing into your mat. And front body opening. Keeping the shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Allow the thighs to externally rotate in this little frog position. And just enjoy this passive stretch to open up through the groin, the inner thigh, across the chest and the shoulders. Let's bring those knees back together. Draw them back up into a little tabletop. Knees can be in front of the hips or just over top of the hips. Shins parallel to the ground. Draw in through the navel and slowly let your knees come off to one side. Inhale, bring them up. Really draw navel to spine, spine to mat. And exhale, knees off to the other side. If you have low back issues, draw your knees closer to your chest as you go through this exercise. Inhale up to center. We're going to slowly let our toes drop to the ground and then bring them back up. And then curl into a little ball, hands to ankles, and come back down. Try and keep those knees right together and let them come off to one side, lifting that top hip just a little bit, working through oblique muscles. Draw knees back to center. Exhale to the other side, lifting the top hip, pull in through the core, back to center. Exhale to slowly drop the toes down to the ground, or further out if you choose, and then curl up into that little ball. And then back to the ground. Let's exhale, knees off to one side. Let's try the other side first. Inhale to center. Exhale, knees off to the other side. Inhale to center. Exhale, toes to the ground or lengthen them out. Exhale. Come on up, touch the ankles, and back on down. Exhale off to one side. Inhale, center. Exhale to the other side. Lengthen the spine. Inhale, center. Exhale, toes to the ground. Inhale. And exhale, curl on up. Let's go ahead and lengthen the other leg down. Bring that right leg all the way up. And the left leg can be bent or it can be long, pressing out through lotus foot. And just flex and point through the ankle, the foot. Find movement through that ankle. Hands around the back of the hamstring or use a strap. Let's draw our toe towards our shin, press our heel towards the sky. Reconnect with the pelvis as you nudge that right hip away, lengthening evenly through both side bodies. Tipping the tail down slightly to lengthen from the tip of the sit bone right up towards the tip of the heel for a nice long stretch. Yogi toe lock, 2 fingers around that big toe as you open up, or around the back of the calf, back of the thigh, or just make a little cradle and let that arm settle in. That leg can be long or it can be bent as we lengthen out to the side, left hand to left hip bone to keep the pelvis exactly where it is. Let's encourage the heel to stretch away from the hip, the thigh bone away from that hip socket. Continue to draw in through the belly. Connect with your spine to the mat. And just enjoy the stretch to the groin and the inner thigh, maybe a little bit deeper. Again, you can always feel free to bend that knee. Bring the hip to the inner thigh. And then let's draw that leg in and bend position. Keeping the sacrum flat to the ground to start. Opposite hand, opposite shin, drawing the knee to the opposite shoulder for a little bum stretch. And then continue that leg on its way. Lifting left hip on top of right hip. No, right hip on top of left hip. As you come into that recline twist pose. Be aware of your spine. Keep it long. Watch that it doesn't over. And just enjoy the stretch of the lower spine into that mid-back. Let's slowly bring yourself back to center. Taking that ankle across that left thigh, flexing the foot, opening the knee. Again, the foot can stay on the ground or you can draw it up, hands around the hamstring, around the shin bone. And just come into your figure 4 position. Encourage that left knee to draw towards left shoulder as you open the right leg up. And then the left toe points up towards the sky. And then flex that foot, heel down towards the hip. Inhale, lift on up, lengthening to the front of the shin. And exhale, draw it down, lengthening through the back of the calf. Be aware of the neck, keeping it long. Avoid letting the chin jet forward. Keeping the shoulder blades pressed open and down towards your mat. And breathe. Let's go ahead and lower that leg down on the last breath, just a little wider than your mat. Externally, internally rotate the thigh, flexing the foot, and trying to keep that spine and that thigh in one long line as you lengthen the knee away from the hip and press the hip slightly forward for a nice long stretch, the inner knee, and out through that thigh, up through that belly. Keep the tummy drawn in to lengthen the spine. That right foot can stay on top of the leg, or you can uncross and just stack them instead. But encourage the leg and the knee to press away from the hip. And then go ahead and stack the legs. Bring the soles of the feet together again, back into little frog legs. Open those knees. And this time, as you take your hand and cactus arms, you're going to move them with your breath. Inhale, lengthen them up and out to the side. And exhale, back to the hips. Inhale, lengthen and lift, trying to keep the back of the wrist connected with the floor. And feeling that nice big stretch to the front body. Keeping the shoulders relaxed and trying to keep the ribs connected with your mat. Inhaling to lengthen and lift. And exhale to lower. Let's bring those knees back together. Gently bring them in. A little rock side to side. And then curl on up into a seated position. Just find those sit bones beneath you. Move the fleshy part away. Lengthen those feet out in front. Turning toes up. Knees can be bent. We're going to press from behind or lift all the way up and reach toward your feet, your ankles, or your thighs, whatever you can reach. And I want you to tip your tail back, your pelvic floor towards your mat, so that we're lengthening our spine, not rounding it out. Feeling that long length from the tip of the tail out through the crown of the head, gazing towards those toes. Feeling that stretch in through the bum and in through the hamstrings and the legs, rather than in through that low back. Belly to thigh, chest slightly lifted. Exhaling as you fold, and inhaling as you lengthen. And then go ahead, one more breath. Exhale and just relax over top of your legs. Allowing the body to soften into its natural curve, whatever that looks like for you. Rounding out through upper back. We're going to reach the right hand to the left leg, either to the outside of the foot or the outside of the shin. I want you to keep the back really tall and bring that leg up as we come into it. Just for the upper spine. Pressing out through the heel, keeping the ankle nice and strong. The knee can be long or it can be bent. That back arm can stay down by the tail as a support or reach it out in opposite direction. Feeling nice and wide across the chest from fingertip to fingertip. And just continue to extend through that left leg. Let's bring body back to center. Bring your foot down in line with the sit bones, so a little gap between ankle and inner thigh of the right leg. And then we're going to windmill that right hand back, left elbow in towards left thigh. And use that as a little bit of a anchor to rotate in the other direction as we come into an open twist. Watch that your left knee doesn't drop open. Use the inner thigh muscles strongly to keep it upright, knee pointed to sky, activating through the inner thigh muscles. And then bring that foot into the groin as you untwist, letting that knee come out to the side. Just relax into the hip. And if that doesn't work, go ahead and open that leg out a little longer. The right knee can bend or it can lengthen as we grab onto the toe, or bring your hand to the inner thigh. Left hand coming up towards the ear as you open through the chest, or reaching away from the shoulder into this nice long side body stretch. Trying to open armpit towards the front and imagine that your body is sandwiched between two panes of glass. Avoiding that rotation forward, but keeping it nice and long and tall. Lengthening out both side bodies. And keeping both sit bones firm to your mat as you lift up and breathe. We're going to take that top arm, rotating our chest back towards that front thigh, and reach across opposite arm, opposite leg. This time feeling the stretch through our left shoulder, through our lat muscles, as we draw the navel in and pull away from that foot. Nice big shoulder and back stretch. Left hand to right foot. And you can use the other right hand to just adjust and keep yourself connected to that thigh. We're going to bring our right foot in front of our left foot, stacking our ankles one in front of the other, so just a little bit wider cross-legged position. Finding those sit bones, you can use the forearms to encourage the stretch, pressing into the shins to lengthen the spine. And just feel that nice external rotation of your thighs as you come into the stretch. And just for a little change, try moving your body in line with one thigh. Notice what you notice. And then gently move to the other thigh. And notice how these are different as you line your spine up with that leg in this forward fold, wide legs. And then come back to center. Just a little flutter, a little butterfly as we prepare for the other side. Sit bones firm to your mat, pressing the feet out in front. Lengthening through the spine, lifting up tall, coming into that nice long staff pose. And forward fold. 2 fingers around your big toes, side of the foot, side of the shins. And come into that fold as you tip your tail back. Lengthening through the back of the legs, out through the calf muscles, rather than that lower spine. And then as you exhale, go ahead and fold, rounding out through the back of the spine. Let's take that left hand, the outside of that right leg this time. Lift on up. And open right hand in the opposite direction. Lift tall through the spine. Rest through the foot, keeping the ankles strong. And feeling that twist through the upper spine, upper back, as well as through that right hip. Let's bend that knee, bring foot towards the sit bone, little gap between the inner thigh, and then internally rotate, drawing inner thigh into arm, using the left hand as an extra spine to lift up tall, and using your right hand to rotate, and that inner thigh as a little anchor. Let's come back to center, bring that foot in towards the inner thigh, loosen up through the hip with a little lift and lower of that knee. That knee can bend on the left side, or you can keep it long. And you can come into a little yogi toe lock or bring the hand into the inner thigh. The hand can be bent as you reach that right hand overhead, opening the elbow or lengthening it away from you as you come into this nice long side body stretch. Continue to draw the navel in, lifting out of both side bodies, and open the armpit towards the front. If this bothers your shoulders, you can always take that top right arm and just tuck it into your low back, opening through the chest. Let's come all the way up. We're going to take that right hand and reach it across that left foot this time, to the outside, shin or foot. And then draw the navel in as you pull away from the foot, opening through that lat muscle and upper right shoulder. Take a couple of deep breaths. And then let's come up nice and tall, inhaling. And just bring that left leg in front of the right, ankles one in front of the other and in line with the pelvis. And hinge forward at the hips. You can use the forearms anchored into the shins to lengthen the spine and help draw you forward. Let's try and keep the sit bones even to the mat beneath you. And just be curious with this pose. Notice how your hips feel in this forward fold. And then walk your body over to one leg. Again, keeping the sit bones firm and even into the mat. And notice how this changes the stretch. Walk your body over to the other side. Pressing the opposite hip away. And then come back to center. Let's take those feet out, hip width apart, and just windshield wiper them back and forth, releasing any tension remaining in the hips. Keeping tall, keeping that chest wide, shoulders rolled back and open. And take those legs out long, give them a little bit of a shudder.
And then just finish off in a cross-legged position. Hands can be on the thighs or down in front. Sit up nice and tall. Let's take one ear to one shoulder. Exhale, take the chin into the chest and inhale to the other side. Gently roll from side to side. Feeling that nice stretching through the neck and down through the shoulder caps. And take as much time as you need as you roll through the neck. Tuck in the chin, bring your head back to center. Just take a couple of deep, deep breaths. Finding sit bones beneath you, even into your mat, lifting through the spine, right up through the crown. Opening through the heart. Let's inhale our hands and our gaze wide to the sky, embracing the evening and this practice. And slide down to heart center. And namaste. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.